Hi, everybody. I think this is just for Theo's benefit, because you can hear me anyway, can't you? Can you hear me okay? Yeah? So, yes, thank you all very much for coming. I think for something like this that nobody even has ever heard of and certainly can't pronounce, it's a really good turnout. So I'm pleased. So has anyone heard of this word to start with? Anyone at all? No. Great. So you'll be interested then in what I have to say, hopefully. So just to introduce myself, I'm Victoria Dorman. I am a homeopath, and I also, well, more really than people, I now work with animals. Not doing homeopathy because I'm not allowed to. You have to be a vet for that. I can treat newborn babies, but I can't treat a cow. Not allowed. You have to be a vet. But I do this other thing, applied zoopharmacognosy, which I'm going to explain to you. And I was a very, very sickly child and young adult. And at about 25 years old, I decided I really had to get my act together and became really passionate about natural health, because for years I'd been having medications of various sorts ever since I was really little, and I just got sicker and sicker. So at 25, I became a vegetarian and got into alternative health and homeopathy in particular. And since then, I've just studied it all just as a passion, really. So whether it's nutrition or organic gardening or herbs, Chinese medicine, you name it, Theo's probably going to put his eyes up because he hears this stuff the whole time. But it works. That's the thing. It works. And I'm 61, and I'm, well, in a minute, I'll get ahead of myself, and I feel fitter than I've ever felt. So I do know it works. So I became a homeopath when I had my 3 kids, because I got sick of having to phone my homeopath the whole time. And so I've been practicing that since 2001. And then I was very into herbs and also therapy. And I was introducing essential oils and how they work to people through small classes. And I had a wonderful experience going to a stables down in Hurstmonceux, because the lady who owned the stables barely slept because she was in such pain from all the falls that she'd had, because she was an eventer. And someone had given her one of the essential oil mixes that I was promoting, which was a pain reliever, all the anti-inflammatories. And it worked so well that she invited me down to her place with a gang of girls, all horsey, to listen to how essential oils can be so useful. And once the class had finished about 10 p.m. on a very frosty, gorgeous night, one of the girls said, "Let's take the oils out to the horses." And I was a bit bemused, because I hadn't even considered essential oils and animals. But she knew something about it. She knew something about this zoopharmacognosy. So we went out to the stables, and the first horse there instantly put his ears back, bared his teeth, absolute get away from me type of attitude. And the owner said, "Oh, don't worry about Digger, he only likes me, he hates everybody." So I went to the next horse, got out a bottle of peppermint oil. Is everybody here familiar with essential oils? You all had a sniff of an essential oil, so you know how strong they are, especially peppermint, really powerful. Anyway, so I got out some peppermint, and that horse was really interested, and started becoming a bit spacey and deeply inhaling from my hands. And when I looked round, the horse that hated everybody was leaning in. And so I turned round to him, offered him pepperminty hands, and he started breathing in the scent as like his life depended on it. So I put some more on quickly, gave him some more. Really exciting. In the middle of the night with the horse. And he started licking my hands, and then he went completely gaga. He did this thing, I don't know if you, with animals, know, when they lift up this lip, it's called a Fleming response. He blew raspberries, he shut his eyes, literally, like he was going into a trance. And then he was going like this to me. And I was just standing there. And the girl who knew something about this said, I think he's telling you where he wants you to put it. So I put some more peppermint oil on my hand, rubbed his neck, and he was gone from a very aggressive thoroughbred to an absolute donkey. And we could all pat him, we could kiss him on the cheek. The owner said nobody had ever been able to touch him before. He was transformed. And I went home and Googled oils, horses, found a course, and it's called Applied Zoopharmacognosy, or Herbal Choices. And what had happened was this horse had an injury that was chronic, that caused chronic pain in his neck. The owner was giving him horse painkillers when he worked, but the rest of the time he wasn't getting them. And so when I put the peppermint oil, instantly he got relief and became okay. And so he wasn't aggressive to anybody anymore. And that blew me away so much, I thought, I've got to do this. These are my three. This is Sasha, Millie, and Daisy at the back. And, oh, I've got to check on my notes, sorry. Talked too long for the last one. Yeah, if anybody starts getting bored, just wave at me or something, because I do tend to go off at a tangent a bit. So, who's got dogs? Yeah? Just about everybody. Or cats? Yeah? Horses? Anyone with horses? No. Ever had a horse? Yeah? Okay. So, we're very prescriptive with our animals, aren't we? We kind of think we know what's best for them. We give them the food, we think we know what's best for them. We take them for the length of walk, we think what's best for them. We love them to bits, so we do what's best for them. But a lot of the time, we're guessing. We don't always actually know. And this is my grandfather. No, I'm only joking. It's not. Be cool, wouldn't it? But if you've ever watched David Attenborough, everybody here must have watched David Attenborough. Yeah. So you know you have seen zoopharmacognosy in action, because I can remember there was. Remember ever seeing all the parakeets flying to a load of clay where they were all eating the clay? One of his programs had that, and then you see animals eating all kinds of stuff in the other ones. And that's because all animals in the wild practice zoopharmacognosy and have done since the beginning of time, because there weren't always vets and there weren't always pills, and the only way they were going to stay well was through finding a plant or a mineral or something that's going to make them feel better. And so the word zoopharmacognosy, I've broken it down for you there. Zoo, animal, like in zoology. Pharma for drugs. And then cognosy, knowledge of. So all animals in the wild self-medicate. And the beginning of the last century, zoologists started studying this and started really working out why the various animals were eating what they were. And so it's quite a science now. So we've got baboons eating plant to combat intestinal parasites. A lot of what they do is to fight parasites, because obviously they're up against it with all kinds of parasites, especially in jungles, in the skin, in their ears, perhaps, as well as in the intestines. But even to increase fertility or decrease fertility or increase milk production or things like that. I mean, everything that brings an animal's body into balance can be achieved through plants or natural substances. So this guy, Juan Villalba, is a professor at Utah State University, and he has decided to properly study this in a very scientific way. So it's one thing observing animals in the wild. He has actually penned sheep in all kinds of different conditions where they have access to different kinds of plants, different types of grasses, different types of hedgerow, etc., different weeds. And he's been doing this for years. It's all online. There's for anybody interested in science, there's PubMed. You know PubMed? It's a website where you can find just about everything scientific that's published. And so he's been doing this for years, and he has absolutely decided that, excuse me, that sheep, which is what he's been studying, treat themselves completely. They don't need antibiotics. They just find the right herb, the right weed. Sometimes it's algae even that grow. When you take your dog out and you say, come away from that, because they're stepping into a scummy pool and drinking the water, what they're after is the algae, because the algae will have, who takes spirulina or chlorella or something like that? Those are algae. And so animals also can use algae from pond or ditch surfaces. So how, though, do animals know what they need? Anybody guess how they do it? Yeah, it's absolutely evolution. It's obviously the innate knowledge that's been handed down from parent to child, but physically they're using their noses. That's the main, or their olfactory system, their system of smelling, which is also through the mouth. This is our dog, Sasha, and she has 278 million receptors in her nose, and we have 5. There's also, I don't really understand what they mean when they say gene expression. Does anyone? But they have millions of genes expressing, connected to the nose when we only have a few. And most of ours are turned off. And that's the other thing. We certainly have instincts and pretty good sense of smell. But it would have been a lot better when we lived in situations where our lives depended on it. So the reason all our genes have been turned off and our sense of smell and why we're not so good at it anymore is because we're not reliant upon it. Although, I don't know about you, I've always hated if I've had a bad cold or something and can't smell things. You know, like you can't smell if the milk's off. Or if you've got little kids, you can smell if they're ill or not, can't you? As a mum, you can smell if your children are ill. Yeah, exactly. So, and especially when they're babies and you want to know if they've got a clean nappy on or not, to have a blocked nose is horrendous. So it's still important to us, but much more important to them. And the larger the nose, the better the sense of smell. So I'm not doing too badly. But bloodhounds are in an absolute class of their own. Bloodhounds have, as you can see, enormous noses. And yeah, they can track people with hardly any scent to go on. Oh, look at that. Fade. Did you like that? Oh, wrong one. Damn. I pressed the button too many times. I was doing so well. I had this beautiful fade. I'm going to do it again. Because I was so chuffed to find this on Keynote. Yay! Right. So, I don't know if you've ever examined your dog's nose up close, but it actually has this brilliant system where it breathes in, blows it out, and breathes in again, because it has these two airways. A bit like didgeridoo in a way, isn't it? Kind of breathing in and out at the same time. So when they drive you crazy, stuck for ages by a lamppost, sniffing and sniffing and sniffing and sniffing and sniffing and sniffing, and you have to drag them away, they are doing this in, out thing. And they are obtaining ridiculous amounts of information from that. They will know the health of the previous visitor to that lamppost, the sex, whether it's in season or not, etc., etc. And there are two ways that a dog inhales. So it's inhaling, in one way it inhales and the molecules, the scent molecules, go straight to something called the olfactory bulb, which then sends the molecules, the messages, the nervous messages, nervous impulses, messages to the limbic system in the brain, which affects memory, affects emotion, and it also, though, can have a physiological effect because it will instruct hormones. The limbic system instructs hormones. So that's where your happiness comes from serotonin, dopamine. Animals are the same. It's all hormone related. And but also those hormones will change you physically. So, for example, if you're suddenly freaked out about something and you produce a lot of adrenaline, your stomach goes like that, and it's the same for animals, so you can't digest. Blood rushes to the surface, so you become warmer. Your lungs can absorb oxygen better. This is all for fight or flight, so that you can run away. And that's great if you're running away, but if you're not running away, what happens is the side effect of adrenaline production is cortisol production. And cortisol causes inflammation. And inflammation is the root of all disease. So some people who get very achy, it's not because they've been doing a lot of gardening or something, it's because they've been stressed. And they've produced a lot of cortisol, which has made them have sore shoulders or a bad back or something like that. And for animals, it's just the same. So to be in a constantly anxious state is really not good for a dog. And dogs, cats, most of our domestic animals are, and horses too, seem to be getting sicker. In as much as there's far more cancer, there's far more chronic disease. And a lot of that has to do with very stressful living conditions, as well as chemicals that they take in various ways, which is a whole other ballgame. So anything that we can do that improves their state of mind is going to help their immune systems and help them not have that inflammatory response and keep them better. Yeah. Sometimes it can just be first thing in the morning and they haven't had a drink for a long time. You know, they can be warm and dry then. Yeah. But if everything in their lives is working perfectly, it should be damp, because when they live through their noses, don't they? It's always like this, and that's their nose working. When they inhale a molecule, it reacts with receptors in the nose and produces mucus. I mean, it's not like infected mucus, like when you've got a cold. It's that clear liquid. which is another, which they need to help, again, when it mixes, when the scent mixes with the mucus that they produce, it helps them take the smells in. So yeah, ideally they should always be wet. So that's one way. Sorry. Is there any, sorry, is there? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't looked at research on that. But certainly there is an increase in them. So whether the cause is that people are taking them to the vets earlier and getting the diagnosis, I don't know. But it's definitely an increase. Just like there's an increase in ulcers in horses. Huge increase in that. So that's one way. The smells go in and go straight to the brain and have an effect mentally, emotionally, hormonally. And then the other way is they inhale. And when they inhale, the molecules, the volatile molecules from whatever it is they're inhaling, I'm talking about essential oils here, go in down into the airways, hitting the surfaces as they go down, going into the lungs, and then pass straight into the bloodstream. So, believe it, I mean, I found it incredible when I first discovered this, or was taught this, that you think, don't you, that to have a physical effect on somebody, you've got to drink something or eat something, and that's how it's going to give you the chemicals you need that are going to combat the virus or whatever. But you don't. With essential oils, they are so powerful and they're so volatile. They literally jump out of the. I take the lid off. Those molecules. Should I pass that around? Well, actually, let's give you a lemongrass. That's gorgeous. Try the lemongrass. You only have to sniff it, and the fact that you can smell it is that molecules are jumping out of the bottle and going up your nose. And they, just like with animals, we're the same. You can sniff an essential oil. It goes, crosses the membranes into the bloodstream, and then has a physiological effect. And these oils are amazing. They're anti-inflammatory, they're analgesic, they reduce temperature, they aid digestion. I mean, they're healing. It goes on and on. So, I'll do this. Oh, here we go. Good. So, a dog's sense of smell is between 100 and 10,000 times better than a human's. And that's why you can get caught at customs by a spaniel, but not by a customs officer. You know, they can smell just the tiniest traces. A horse is even greater. It's hundreds of thousands of times better than us because they're an animal that are preyed upon. And so they absolutely have to have a wonderful sense of smell so that, you know, the wolves or whatever, I suppose it would be a wolf, or the lions, they can get away from. And, sorry? Yes, yeah. If you're an animal that's preyed upon, your sense of smell is even better. I mean, dogs are using it to find prey, but yeah, the horse has the better one. If you take apart the horse's sensory olfactory system, all the membranes, because they're like, you know, I think they say we've got, I can't remember how many miles of intestines. Well, the membranes of a horse's olfactory system, if you opened it all out, stretched it out, it would completely cover the horse. And it's just in this area here. It's absolutely massive. And they have more than just their nose. All animals, and we used to, they think, but we've lost ours. There's something called the, I always get this wrong, vomeronasal organ, or Jacobson organ, which they breathe through it's on the roof of the mouth. They breathe in through the mouth, and this sends signals absolutely direct. It's a shortcut from the mouth to the brain. So they can instantly pick up, you know, they're using horses a lot now for therapy for people, because a horse can sense your emotions. Well, emotions have a smell, and this vomeronasal organ of Jacobson is what they use. It can just literally take everything straight to the brain, so they have an instant perception of what's going on around them. And when they do that Fleming response, which dogs do, horses do, I saw a goat do it the other day when I was treating a horse, and it smelt some peppermint, and it did. Even the goat did it. It was very tight, but it did it too. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get more air over the vomeronasal organ so that it will drive the scent deeper into the brain. And when they do it, yes, they grimace. Like that. So, on to the relationship now between animals and these oils, or the herbs, or the plants around them, all those wild plants that they forage for if they get a chance. So as long as there have been animals on Earth, there have been plants providing for them. And whether it's providing food or medicine, when it's food, obviously the animals are using their sense of smell to find food. Like that Labrador's found a banana. Ours love bananas. Or they're finding, and they're the primary metabolites. We call them the primary metabolites of a plant, is what provides an animal with food. So it's the starches, the proteins, the vitamins, the minerals in the plant. And then there's the secondary metabolites, which are the medicinal compounds. And these are things that the plant produces for itself. It produces it to protect itself from attack. So very bitter. Who's eaten dandelion? Anyone? Yeah? Really, really bitter. It's absolutely the thing to do right now. Spring's coming. Go and pick dandelion leaves, eat them. Your liver will love you, because it's a really good liver tonic. But it's super bitter, and the reason it's so bitter is it wants other things not to eat it. And all those lovely scents, you know, when you squeeze a lavender flower or rub a peppermint leaf, those beautiful scents are either to protect it from insects, usually it's insects, or attract insects if it needs them for pollination, or they contain fantastic molecules that will, antimicrobial molecules that kill off viruses, funguses, and all the other nasties that attack plants. But the animal kingdom, we in the animal kingdom, have this fantastic benefit from the fact that the plant is doing this for itself, because it works for us too. Most people know, would you agree, that herbs, or you believe that herbs can be beneficial to humans and animals? You know, they're either going to be calming or deal with an upset tummy or something like that, or good for a cold, eucalyptus say, or something. But most people don't realize that essential oils are actually even more powerful, they're even more potent. because you think about it, to produce one little bottle of lemongrass, you need a kind of sack this big of actual lemongrass stalks to make it. And for roses, it's ridiculous. To produce rose oil, you need ridiculous quantities to produce just a few mils. So, and the oil is going to be a lot more powerful. But they basically can do the job of just any drug you like to mention. In fact, most drugs have a plant connection initially anyway. Aspirin gets its name from the Latin for meadowsweet, which is spirea. And meadowsweet, I offer a lot to dogs and horses, is a painkiller. It's a pain reliever. It's got salicylic acid in it, which is the basis of aspirin. And they called aspirin aspirin because of spirea. Yeah, yeah. Valerian is really sedative. Yeah, really, really sedates you. So they're fantastic at relieving pain. I'll pass this one round, if I can find it. Oh, I've got valerian. I'll pass that round. You can have a sniff. Nobody go to sleep. Oh, have I got it? Oh, yes, there we go. So I'm going to pass around. Valerian is, am I all right to move? Don't move. Valerian is a sedative, and yellow birch is incredibly pain relieving. And for a dog, all they have to do with the yellow birch is sniff it, and they get pain relief. You don't have to put it on the skin. It doesn't have to go in. Those molecules are so volatile, they'll go up through the airways, into the lungs, and into the bloodstream. Yeah. Yeah. But you probably put it on the area. You have to dilute it, but then you put it on. I'll show you in a minute. The animal kind of chooses its distance. Weirdly, horses, considering they've got such an amazing sense of smell, can be right in it. But a dog is going to be, keep its distance a little bit. I've got some film in a minute, and you'll see. Cats are even more sensitive. They're very delicate. You have to be a bit careful about what you offer to a cat, because some of them can make them ill, like tea tree could make a cat ill. So it kills microbes. They're fantastically antibacterial. Thyme and tea tree will kill most things. There's even a orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Winterton in America, who now diffuses antimicrobial and healing oils when he's doing surgery, because you don't want to get infections in bone. It's really bad to do that. And antibiotics, they don't work for everybody these days. So he's diffusing these because they'll kill airborne pathogens. They heal tissue, reduce heat and inflammation, prevent tumor growth, stimulate appetite and digestion, remove toxins. Lemon oil particularly is fantastic for removing toxins from the liver. I mean, I take lemon oil every morning. It's delicious. And yeah, I just have it in a, you can put it in a herb tea or have it in warm water. Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. It works on the liver. It works on the liver. And it removes, all the talk these days about plastic and the fact that we've got plastic in our cells now because it's in our food, it's in everything. Lemon I don't know if you've ever tried a drop, if you've used lemon oil. If you put a drop of lemon oil in a styrofoam cup, just goes straight through it. It melts plastic, and it helps the body remove plastic from the system. So yeah, I take it every day. Lemon oil, lemon essential oil. And the key things with us, with children, but that's a whole other subject, essential oils and children. But with animals, they reduce anxiety, they calm fears. Fantastic for dogs who have issues with fireworks, pets, stuff like that. Sorry? Sorry, you. Yeah, that's it. Yes. But the trouble with a thing like that is that each animal is unique as to what oil they want for that to calm them. So, really it's better if you can first of all find which oil is the one that they need rather than a mix. Yeah. Like Kate's dog, it was thyme. Who would have thought of thyme? Through this procedure that I'm about to get to. Yeah. Yeah. So just to say, for anybody who likes looking stuff up, I've put here, there's evidence-based complementary in terms of medicine, volume, blah, blah, blah. This is a huge article about using essential oils in hospitals and in current medical practice. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And these work amazingly, really work amazingly. So essential oils, when it comes to animals, there are 4 ways the animal can take them in. So the obvious way, through the skin, if they were rolling in something, if they were in the wild, or if we would actually put something on them. Inhalation has those 2 systems that I was talking about. One goes straight to the bloodstream. The other goes into the limbic system, which affects memory and motion. And then the other way is ingestion, which goes into the stomach and into the organ and body tissues. And I think, I can't remember exactly, it's either 2 minutes or 20 minutes. I can never remember which it is. But when you take an essential oil or you breathe an essential oil, within either 2 or 20 minutes, it's in every cell of the body. For all animals. Yeah, for all animals. Oh, do you feel you need calming? Keep smelling it until you do. Maybe after a while you'll be actually horizontal. That's amazing because it's really, really strong. Ooh. It's not a nice smell. So this is quite crucial because what we do as prescriptive owners of our animals is say, you need this and I'll put it in your food. Or you need this and I'll put it on your skin. And it's really important to let the animal choose which way it's going to take these medicines in. Because depending on which way it goes in, it will have a different effect. For example, lemon oil. Oh, I've done it again. Oh, no, I haven't. Lemon oil, when inhaled, breaks down kidney stones. The limonene in it breaks down kidney stones. So if an animal has got that kind of problem with its kidneys, it's important that it just inhales the lemon. If we said, oh, I've heard that you need lemon, and put it on its food, it eats it, the liver acts upon it because it's gone into the digestive system, the limonene gets broken down and produces other compounds. Now, those other compounds are very good for the immune system and the emotions, but they're not going to do anything for your kidneys. So part of this fabulous zoopharmacognosy method is that you let the animal choose how it takes it. What I do is I offer the bottles. You always offer a choice, so that, because otherwise you might think that's all that's on offer, so I'll take it. So you're offering, part of the training is about knowing what the properties are of the oils and the herbs, so that you know that they're similar. And then you would offer both, and then you kind of feel your way through several different oils, always bringing in another one and saying, would you prefer this one to that one? Until, and they'll tell you, no, I'll stick with this one, thanks, I quite like this one. And then you offer, they will let you know whether they want to ingest it or not, because they'll try licking the bottom. They'll either lie down, breathe it in from a distance, or they actually start licking it, and you can put a bit on your hand and they'll lick it. Time is the limit. Most of the sessions I do are a couple of hours. You know, I'd be there all day, really, if I was going to offer. Yeah, and they can only stand it for so long, too, you know, because they're going to get tired after a while, because it's, you know, therapy. Yeah, yeah. So what I do is I first of all get a client to fill in a form like that to tell me what the problem, what the issues are, what they think the issues are, what the symptoms are. And then I'll think, okay, that could be kidney, so I'll include this. And I make a little plan of the key things I'm going to offer. I might have to go completely off plan, because it goes, no, actually, I need this if I start down a different route. But I will have a bit of a plan before I turn up. So our captive animals don't have access to the medicinal plants that wild animals do. So how do we give them a chance to use natural substances to heal themselves? And this is where we have this wonderful zoopharmacognosy. And it's been, as I was saying, studied for a long time of animals in the wild. But the lady who, Caroline Ingraham, who wrote this lovely book, Help Your Dog Heal Itself, plus a huge book on all animals. She has been developing this over the last 20 years. And she works in zoos with all kinds of animals. She flies all over the world, treating racehorses and the like. And she termed this phrase applied zoopharmacognosy, because what we're doing is applying it to our captive animals. So it's a process that it has a sequence to it, because to begin with, the animal doesn't know what the hell you're doing. You know, suddenly this person's come in and there are all these amazing smells. So there is a sequence, using calming oils to begin with, get them on board. Maybe it's a nutritional problem, so I'll offer nutritional foods to begin with before I get into medicinal. But basically, we're trying to bring the wild to the domestic animal, offer them all the plants, all the clays and nutrients that they might find if they had the chance in the wild. Isn't that a great shot? You can't ask your dog what's wrong. You can hazard a guess, and even vets. And I've got nothing against them, and in fact, I do prefer to have their approval of what I do for the individual animal. They find diagnosis tricky. They can test the blood, they can test this, that, and the other, but they don't always find the answers. So what's needed is a common language, and the language, oh, sorry, I'm going back to the language aspect. Because say, for example, if your dog or animal has vomiting or diarrhea, there are going to be many reasons why that could have happened. It could be poor food, it could be toxicity, it could be parasites, it could be ulcers, it could be cancer. How are you going to know? But this is the common language. So I brought just the essential oil part of what I use. But then there are big bags that I have of herbs and nutrients. And also, for some animals, those essential oils are a bit too strong. So also I have floral waters like rose water and elderflower water and cornflower water and things like that. But they're just a little bit milder for them. And cats particularly like the floral waters rather than the oils. And it's safer too, especially if an animal is pretty sick, it's safer. How are we doing for time? Yep. I won't tell that story now. It's rather a long one. Okay, so this is probably the best way to show you how it works is to show you a little bit of film. This dog, the owner said, current health, a mix of allergies to all grains, potatoes, and meats. I have the test results. Been like this since 8 weeks old, colitis, jelly and blood in stools, allergic to adhesive on surgical dressings, very clingy. And the owner was really particularly worried about this dog because she was finding there was less and less food she could give her. And she got down to fish and a few little bits of rice, I think, in the end, because everything seemed to upset her stomach and she was bleeding and vomiting. So I came in and did this. So I'm offering her here nutrients at the beginning and herbs. She's had a few nutrients. Now this blue bowl I've given her is milk thistle. Does anybody know about milk thistle? Exactly. It's possibly, yeah. This is ground seeds. I buy the seeds and this is ground up. And this dog couldn't get enough of them. And to cut a long story short, it transpired that this dog had been treated with Frontline. Does anybody know Frontline? And which is a neurotoxin, by the way, so don't use it. And because it was a sensitive dog and not the strongest to begin with, its liver just could not handle the toxicity of the Frontline. So I visited twice. The first time I saw her, she got a bit better for about 3 weeks, and then it all came back. I went again a few weeks after that, and this time she, next slide. Here we go. This is, she's chosen an essential oil, and look, she's actually asking me to put it there. There's a vein in the groin, which means that the oil will go straight into the stomach area and into the bloodstream. And they literally will ask you for it. There was a spayed dog who was apparently, you know, the owner didn't know that that was a problem at all. She was worried about her behavior, and very often people are worried about the behavior of dogs, but actually it's because they've got physical problems. And this dog had been spayed, and so I was offering her things, and I got out the chamomile herb rather than oils, and she literally turned round and backed towards me with her legs apart, and she wanted it rubbed on her tummy. And she stood there for about 5 minutes whilst chamomile flowers were rubbed into her tummy. And because she was in pain, and chamomile is an analgesic. So, yeah, that's that dog. And she is now completely fine. The owner doesn't use Frontline anymore. She uses all natural medicines, because one of the things I like to do is I only do 2 visits. I've made up this rule now. No, I'm only going to come twice, because what I really want is for the owners to learn how to do this themselves. Because it's great to do it every day, or at least once a week. You can be offering nutrients, offering herbs. Just a spoonful in a little dish, see if they take it or not. And that could be all it needs to prevent illness, which will save a fortune in the long run with vet bills. Seaweed is a source of vital trace minerals, revitalization, cooling, soothing, nourishing energy, gives relief where things are blocked, overheated, or seem unbearable. For chronic illnesses, degenerative disease, immune stimulant, laminitis, arthritis, lack of self-confidence, depression, lack of motivation, run-down animals. And he was quite a sad boy, isn't he gorgeous? And he was this girl's third horse. She had 3 horses, and this was the one she really didn't bother with too much. He was a bit skittish. So he was a bit neglected. He went on to have a load of other things too. But that's true. Yeah. You always give them a choice. So I'm never coming to them with 1 bottle or 1 herb. So I know the potential problems. So I thought, okay, they might need some brewer's yeast, they might need some rose hip, they maybe need detox. Like my dog this morning had a ton of wheatgrass powder. And I'm thinking, okay, she wants to detox because that's fantastic for that. The other dog, who normally eats everything that she eats, Millie, her daughter, didn't want that at all. No interest, but she loved the spirulina. So, yeah, they show you. They absolutely show you. I can't remember now. Oh, here we go. Here's a dog you recognize. Now, this dog she'd had some operations, hadn't she? Urine infections, which were peeing in the house, wasn't she? And she was very, very clingy. And this is her. She liked that one for a bit. I think that's the Jasmine. Time. It was Time. And Time, and that's how they'll lie. Now, she's lying really close. A lot of them will lie much further distance away than that. And she stayed calm for some time after that, didn't she? Yeah. Time? Well, what I'm thinking is that her behavior was actually caused by an infection, because she had these urinary infections. So Time is fabulously antimicrobial. It's really, really strong. So that would have helped. And she didn't want it applied, did she? Or to take it. She just wanted, although I think she had Time too. I can't remember. But she was just breathing it in. But the other thing, on a more esoteric front, which there are some fabulous people out there, this essential oil for animals, this woman has really made it her life's work. And she considers Time to be an oil that gives animals courage. And she had separation anxiety, didn't she? She used to drive you mad when you came in. Yeah. 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 How did it all start? I don't know. I mean, the animal is showing you what they need. So with an animal that's got any kind of chronic illness, I would probably start off with nutrients, see which nutrients they wanted, because that's a quite gentle way to start. Is he an anxious dog? Is he stressed? Not at all. So, yeah, I'd start with nutrients. And then I would just see what he goes for. It's an effect. But you have to... Well, that's true, yeah. Yeah. It, you would definitely not take him off his medication. You would just see how much better he is with an introduction of something else. Every animal that I've seen, the oils and the herbs and the nutrients have had an effect on. I've never seen an animal that sick, but that Labradoodle, the brown one, they thought it was allergies. It could, the diet had gone from a normal one down to this very small portion a day of a bit of fish and rice, because it seemed that he reacted to everything else. And he was really unwell when I saw him. Red rimmed eyes, very dull coat, very subdued and lethargic, and blood in the stools and vomiting. So he was really unwell, and they'd put it down to allergies. What it actually was in that instance was I believe, toxicity. And once he got hold of things that helped his organs, his major organs, detox, he became better. Sorry? And she stopped using it. Yeah. A neurotoxin? I don't know which one exactly. I use essential oils and something called diatomaceous earth, which is a naturally occurring mineral, and you just put, now that I do put in their feed, but only kind of like once every 2 months, 2 or 3 months for 10 days, just to hit the parasites. No, they have never had fleas, so I don't use it. But you can use diatomaceous earth on them, and it gets rid of them. But yeah, so there are toxins going into animals from all kinds of sources. From people who have very, very clean houses using Chill It Bang and stuff like that. The dogs are walking around with bare feet. They haven't got shoes or slippers on. They've got bare feet, and it's going into their bloodstream via their feet. If you have got artificial, those scented air things that are spurting scents into the air, they're just a bunch of chemicals. Other kinds of sprays that might be used in the house to clean. The animal is down here just getting so much toxicity. She likes it. Cats are weird. Yeah. I have discussed this when I've been at tutorials and things, and you know, there are people thinking, well, there might be enzymes in the fox poo. Yeah, there might be some enzymes in it that do you good. Who knows? Ooh, all full of all that extra dead herring inside the seagull that's rotting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is really strange, isn't it? It's really strange. But you know, they do it for usually a good reason. There's going to be stuff in there that they want. I even saw when I was doing research for this talk a picture of a cow eating a dead rabbit it had found. Yeah, because there wasn't enough calcium in the grass. This was on a scientific paper, and they'd ascertained that the cow was low in calcium and therefore wanted the bones. So a cow eating that, I mean, it's amazing. So there's another one that's quite close as well, but they set the distance. That is a very fine Tibetan terrier. Yeah, I will not tell him that you called him a sloth. He does. Oh, he's called Fergus, and he's gorgeous. The other thing I do, which is not going to be of any interest to you guys, I'll whiz through it, is foraging plans for people with horses. So I've put this up here, this slide, because people are using herbs a lot, which is fantastic. I'm really glad that they're using herbs. This is a ulcer remedy for horses as opposed to dogs, but there's lots of herbal dog stuff around, isn't there now? And it's got 1 month's supply, such £6. So it's not going to probably cure the ulcers, because I think the ulcers are caused by probably the living conditions and the pressure that the horse is under, the stress that it's under. But it's got all those things in it. I'm sure that they're all good things, and they're all good things for ulcers, but they're not necessarily the one thing that horse needed. So that's where this system, for horses, dogs, whatever, works so well, because you're finding exactly what they want. So it basically allows the animal to choose, well, from the ones I can offer it, the best remedy in the best amount